Councilman Popescu? Here. Councilman Daly?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Leonard? Here. Mayor Rigsby?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
This is a special meeting, so there was only 24 hours notice. And we have, we invite the public to speak on any non-agendized items. The one member of the public is not standing up, so we go with Council Bill R-2020-08, confirming the city manager's proclamation of the existence of a local emergency. Huge agenda.
Can you describe a little bit, because I've had calls from 2 mayors from other cities in the Inland Empire asking what we're doing. And I can tell you what I told them based on the email you sent out, and it sounds pretty consistent with what other cities are doing, but I'd like to know specifically what are the implications of this?
Let me refer it to our city attorney and explain the legal stuff, and I would go over what we are doing.
Okay.
Well, there's not a whole lot at this point from a legal standpoint that we're doing differently, other than by adopting the resolution, we put ourselves in a position to obtain whatever support may become available from the state, the county, or the federal emergency management agencies. Whether or not we will require that aid or what it will consist of is yet to be determined, but this seems to be the prudent measure to at least make ourselves eligible for whatever aid we may require down the road.
So I guess my question would be, one of the calls was from the mayor of the city of Yucaipa, and in comparing notes based on Jarb's email, I think there's a lot of parallels in terms of unscheduling unnecessary or essential meetings or gatherings. But he said they are also, and boy, I wish I'd written some notes now, but they have an agency up there that are also distributing 5 frozen meals to people. We're doing the same thing. Can you tell me about that and who's getting them and how that works?
Let me go over what our plan, what have we done so far.
Okay.
So currently the city hall remain open, and we have closed the senior center starting.
Okay,
Yes.
before City Hall open, City of Highland, which was the other city, they are closed except for people that call in to make appointments. So, you know, if you need a plan check or something, you make an appointment and you come in, and their rationale is that's how they are limiting the number of people in the building or together at any given time. I'm not suggesting that's a good idea, but they're doing, that's what Highland's doing.
Right, for us, we don't have that many people come in anyway. We have they can pay the utility bill online, when you use a credit card. We start have a meeting online. We have a Scribe and conference call meeting today. So instead of people coming in, we can just have it in the conference room and have a laptop open, turn on.
So do we have all city employees coming in, or
yes,
are
right now,
we on
yes.
a limited crew?
No. The city has to function. The public works guys, they have to operate the wells, the reservoir. Finance have to come in and operate the,
Okay,
collect the bills and
okay.
check the water and so forth.
The only people we're sending home are the ones that are doing landscape maintenance in your neighborhood.
So that would be why I've been home all day.
What we have seen though is that in the last week, there's been a marked decrease in the amount of foot traffic coming into the city.
Decrease in what?
In the amount of foot traffic coming in. So our citizens are aware of what's going on, and they're not coming in either. And then we're also sanitizing surfaces, not limiting contact, maintaining personal space at the counter between ourselves and between the public, the members of the public. So we're seeing that people really are only coming in for essential business as it is.
That was the basis of my question, because we've got a number of housing developments that are in process, and I don't know how often they have to come in to, get additional plan checks or permission or inspections or whatever. And so those are moving forward with no problem.
Those are moving, and we are meeting, like I said, maintaining proper spacing, not passing a lot of things back and forth. As much as we can, we are doing through video conferencing or conference calls. But just by virtue of doing a plan check and doing other things, we have to do that in person.
Yeah.
And we are doing that, but it really is the essential people, the people that come in and ask about the zoning on some property they're thinking about buying, or what the policy is on solar panels, those kind of, the background questioning that we get has completely dropped off. The people that come here have business here.
But the community developments that we have in progress are moving forward.
Yes, they have not stopped.
Okay.
So we did close the senior center, but we still, the Family Service Association, the one that provide luncheon for the senior, what they do is from Tuesday to Thursday, between the hours 11 to 1 o'clock, we provide a frozen meal, 5 frozen meal per week, which include milk, bread, and fruit in addition to the meal. So the senior can stop by and volunteer for $5 per meal. They can take those home. Okay. So the library's closed.
Wow, I didn't even know we had that program. That's great.
We've been having lunch program for years. And starting today, now we provide frozen meal.
Yeah, I think I need to start paying my $5 and
And we canceled the senior dance. We are postponed our employee breakfast appreciation. We canceled the community room rental for anybody who have a group more than 10 people. The same thing with the park use permit. So we cancel all of that.
And we're denying special events of gatherings of more than 50 people. So, and there's been a couple
The
of
other
those that have
question
been
I
shut
couldn't
down.
answer is, for how long?
We don't know. We just follow the state and the county guideline. So at this point,
And what is that?
we don't know. We just keep on.
Well, under state law, typically you have a 60-day period, but one of the things the governor did within his power was to suspend some of those statutes so that this is indefinite until the city council rescinds the declaration, in effect, or until the state does. So, the powers of the Director of Emergency Services are set forth in our municipal code. They basically give the city manager in that role authority to rearrange staffing and assignments and take other steps necessary depending upon the nature of the emergency. So it's not laid out in great detail in our code, but there is some additional authority that he receives by way of your action tonight.
So technically, we didn't need to meet tonight. He has the power to do this on his own.
No, we still need a quorum for you to.
Approve what you have recommended.
Yes, we had to do that within 7 days.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, one of the reasons we're doing this is to be reimbursed in anticipation of costs. Can you come up with some examples of what additional costs you anticipate as a result of this?
Have we have any yet, Chief?
Right now, it's minimal. We're getting a lot of our supplies through ISMA, the regional medical director, and stuff. But we might come across situations, depending on how much this grows, where if we have personnel that become infected while on duty, we're going to have to come up with staffing for them, which could result in overtime costs, and housing them could result in us needing more medical supplies to be covering this. And so right now, it would be pretty minimal. I wouldn't say it's an impact, but this sets us up for if this gets really big, we have the opportunity to tap into some of the funds that might come available.
What about if citizens wanted, like, protection equipment? Is the city in a position to offer that to them if we wanted to purchase it, like gloves and masks?
No, we're not planning for it.
Well, you may want to look into it because it may not be a
There-
bad
there's-
idea.
There's such a shortage of that now that we're trying to manage that and keep it to the emergency responders so that it's there for the people that need it rather than,
And then regarding law enforcement,
But if
Go
I
ahead.
can, it's a valid question.
it's a valid question and a valid concern. What we're doing is putting the resources to the highest point of risk.
Yeah,
And the highest point of risk is the first responders that are going into multiple people's
yeah.
houses and dealing with that. So with a limited resource, we want to put it where it'll do the most good. And keeping our first responders healthy so they can treat more people is the best use of that resource
so
for us.
do we have, I guess I should be directing it here, do we have the equipment? I mean, my wife was fitted with a hazmat outfit a week ago with, what,
Right.
N95 mask and all the rest of it. Do we have that equipment?
Yeah,
for-
the problem is like Conrad's saying, is that, for us to provide anything, anybody else at this point wouldn't be practical, because we can't even get the stuff through our normal suppliers because they're just out, and so therefore ISMA is able to make other purchases, and they're basically the conduit where we're putting in through them, and all fire departments are, and we're getting it from them for what we need. We're getting pretty limited because we came out and started saying, let's have everybody wearing the eye protection, the mask, the gowns, everything, and on all medical calls, and you start burning through it pretty fast. And then we realized we're not getting the restocks for it. So luckily found out today that ISMA has our masks coming, goggles coming, and so we're keeping up. But for us to, like Connor's saying, for us to supply anybody else at this point would be impractical.
But when you say masks, are you talking about
Yeah.
surgical masks, or are you talking about the N95 mask?
Both, right? We had the N95s, and those became in short supply, so the guys started wearing the surgical masks, which what we were being told is those are acceptable. We're also having the crews limit the amount of people that go in and get potentially exposed. So far, we haven't had anybody actually exposed. And so the surgical masks are able to use. What ISMA is going to be providing us with are the N95s, so we'll have a stock of those again.
And what's the timeline on that?
It sounds like there should be starting delivery today to the fire department, so we're hoping if we didn't get them today, hopefully by tomorrow.
Because the N95 masks have to be fitted, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's a whole process they go
Yeah,
through.
and so most of our guys go through that and get them fitted, and so they should already have an idea what size they wear. And so it
Okay.
should just be them able to get those once we have them. So we'll have all the sizes, and because they were already fitted, they should know what they need.
I'm just concerned about first responders.
Oh, yeah.
And to be
Yeah,
sure
we're-
they've got we're providing them with the protection that they should feel is appropriate.
And that's what we're trying to do is, like we said, is we're working with all the fire departments in the area. I mean, this is obviously a learning experience for all of us.
Sure.
Is a lot of stuff in theory over our careers, and now we're actually going, wow, some of this doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Wear PPEs on everything, and then you realize, well, what happens when you use them all and you're all out? I don't know. We never thought of that.
Yeah.
And so now what we're saying is, okay, rather than the whole 3-member crew going in, have one guy go in and decide, is this a potential or not? If it's not, then everybody else can come in and work. If it is, can the guy come outside into the fresh air? And so it's not as a close environment. And so it's all these things we're learning as we go to help, first and foremost, limit the exposure to our first responders, make sure they have equipment, make sure they're able to keep getting the equipment. And so definitely it's our highest priority.
So how's the morale in your department? Do they feel supported and appropriately equipped based on circumstances we're talking about?
I believe so. We're trying this week to meet with our captains to help them understand what we're trying to do. And we met with 2 yesterday. We'll meet with 2 tomorrow, and then the next shift the next day, and just try to understand that we're trying because it's a moving target in a lot of ways. I mean, we even see nationally it goes from the president, no big deal, to 250 people to
Yeah,
50 people
yeah,
to 10
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
And so we're doing kind of the same thing, is kind of in a lot of ways being reactive, but trying to at the same time encourage them. It's hard because obviously as first responders, you know, everybody might want to go home and be safe, but obviously if all our first responders did that, then we have nobody out there. And so it's trying to balance. We've given opportunities that if some of the guys have pregnant wives and stuff, and if they're uncomfortable
Yeah,
going home,
yeah, for
we're
sure.
gonna make them able to spend the night here in the station and just stay over, even though they're off duty if they're uncomfortable. And so we're trying to accommodate anything we can to help that and give those opportunities to provide them with the right stuff. And I was on a conference call today where stuff's even changing more from what ISMA is trying to do to limit exposure, to get the right equipment on scene of calls, even allowing some telemedicine stuff, which we've been talking for years. All of a sudden now it's a front burner, and it's something that might go through. And so there's a lot of stuff happening that I think this is going to be good. And so we're trying to make sure our crews have all of that as it happens. But it's hard because it's a moving target.
So to come back, do we have the budget for what we're talking about here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, that's good. City council ought to get a raise if we've got that much money. Yeah. Sheriff's
He does a lot of work to convince me to get all that.
I'm sure. Sheriff's Department, is there collaboration between fire departments and sheriff department on this?
There definitely is at the county level, and I know, I'm sure the county chiefs are talking, and all those organizations. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to consider, and it's not just about the folks in the field. We have to think about dispatchers, the people that take the 911 calls. We have to have plans in place. Obviously, the medical facilities have to be staffed, and so there's a lot of concern about how all this stuff kind of comes together. But it is very uncharted territory, and it really does seem to change hour by hour.
Yeah, no, it's moving fast, for sure.
So.
Just a couple follow-up questions. Have you had any increased calls that you actually feel might be suspected of this type of disease?
It seems that, you know, not officially, but just watching some of the calls, there does seem to be an increase in the number of shortness of breath calls we're running on, and none are really hitting the criteria of being coronavirus. Could it be, you know, I know there's a lot of common colds going around. I have one myself right now. It could just be panic, that people are just calling because I think I have something. And so fortunately we've had a couple of calls that sounded like they were potential, and then as there's some testing and everything, it found that it wasn't. So, but it does seem, at least whether our call volume's going up, I can't say, but it does seem the number of shortness of breath calls might be going up.
Okay. And just on a separate note, I've been following what they're doing in other countries, and South Korea really has their act together and how they're promoting this. And I know they talked about having these mobile stations and parking lots and stuff. So I'm hoping that you all kind of keep in touch with the county folks. So because at some point they are going to have mobile stations. They're not going to be able to take care of everybody. So, and as far as money, I know that the sheriffs, we only allowed so many officers. But if we wanted to ask for more, how do they make a decision as to which city gets more and which city gets less?
Probably those type of things we probably shouldn't be really talking about in public, because there's a lot of discussion about things that are going on behind the scenes. So we could probably talk offline about some of the things that are going on there. But at this point, we're not going to get any extra staffing, even if we wanted. Well, let me take that back. We're not going to be able to pay for anything extra, as opposed to what already might be in place or might be planned to handle those types of. Am I being cryptic enough without?
I have a scheduled meeting with John McMahon tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So.
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm sure they're going to call the National Guard soon anyway, so.
Okay, we have Council Bill. Is there a motion? Is motion second? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any opposition? Hearing none. It's approved unanimously. And any reports of councilmen? Reports of officers? Then we're adjourned. And that's it.
Before we're adjourned, I mean, what I'm hearing from neighbors and other communities about this stuff. I don't know why people think I know what's going on, because, you know, I don't. But are we hearing a lot of concern among our citizens about this stuff and what we're doing about it?
Well, today I received 2 phone calls from the restaurant owner, Thai food, both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And yes. So they asked me for an update, and I told them that because we're not the county public health department, I referred them to check with the county health department on what can they do, and all I heard is just like from the news, which is, right now, you should close the restaurant and only open for the takeout.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's what they're doing. And the same thing with McDonald's, Carl's Jr. across the street, they drive-through only, so they cannot go in and sit down. And then, as far as grocery go, I went to the Filipino grocery store on Redlands Boulevard last night. There's a little line, but not that long, so.
Try Costco.
I don't go to Costco anymore. I went 2 weeks ago, so everything's fine 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it's not now.
And Walmart's fine. Yes, there's probably less stuff on the shelf, but the day that went, not that many people. I went to Loma grocery store. They're fine.
So just to reassure the public out there, there's actually plenty of food. A lot of these chain supermarkets have food in their warehouses. The problem is what they're experiencing at the storefront, which is the kind of the mass hysteria. So I think once they get an idea of how to manage that a little bit better, I don't want to use the R word. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think they're trying to figure out ways that they're not just dropping it off and it disappears. I was happy to see some of the move by some of the local chains to restrict certain hours for the elderly and people like that, because that's obviously a big concern. But yeah, to assure the public out there, there's plenty of food. It's just a matter of slowing down everybody's heart rate and kind of
There is panic out there.
taking
There
the
is,
approach, so.
Well, they're already starting to get people trying to take stuff back. And they're putting up signs, saying, you bought it, you keep it. You can't hoard it and then bring it all back. It's, it's like the classic thing where Costco sells a whole bunch of big screen TVs right before the Super Bowl, and then a whole bunch of them come back the day after the Super Bowl. So Costco let that happen, but other stores can't do it. So, yeah, we did adjourn, so
Oh, wow.
everybody's free to leave.
So I don't know.